Chapter: The Ringing Cedars of Russia.
I went back to my apartment. Spring was already caressing Moscow. There was half a bottle of sunflower oil and sugar in the kitchen. I had to replenish my pantry, so I decided to sell my mink cap. A real fur cap, not a molded one, costs considerable money. Of course, the season was over, but I could still get something for it. I headed toward one of Moscow's many markets. I approached fruit sellers and goods sellers. They looked at the cap, but were in no hurry to buy. I had decided to lower the price when two men walked up to me. They twirled the cap in their hands and touched the fur.
I should try it on. Why don't you ask someone for a mirror?
One of them said to his comrade, and he suggested we step aside. We moved into a secluded spot at the end of a row of stalls and started waiting for his comrade and the mirror. We didn't have to wait long. He came up quietly from behind, and the blow to the back of my head made me see stars. Everything grew hazy. Braced against the fence, I managed not to fall, but when I came to, my buyers were gone, and so was the cap. Two women chuckled solicitously.
Are you all right? Those pigs. You should sit. Here's a box.
I stood by the fence a little longer and slowly walked away from the market. There was a fine spring rain. Trying to cross the road, I stopped at the curb to look around. My head was roaring with pain. I wasn't paying attention, and a car passing close by doused my trousers and jacket with muddy water. Dazed, without moving from where I was, I got splashed again, this time even in the face, when the wheels of a truck hit the same puddle. I stepped away from the curb and took shelter from the rain under a kiosk awning, trying to decide what to do next. They wouldn't let me on the subway looking like that, of course. I could walk the 3 stops to the apartment where I was staying, but the police might pick me up looking like that, taking me for a drunk, a bum, or simply a suspicious individual. Just talk your way out of that and try to prove your innocence while they're clarifying things. What would I tell them anyway? Who was I now? Right then, I saw this man. Stepping slowly, the man was carrying 2 boxes with empty bottles and looking like the homeless men and drunks who often hang around commercial stalls pouring liquor. Our eyes met, and he stopped, set his boxes on the asphalt, and started talking to me.
What are you standing there for, scoping things out? This is my territory. Off you go.
He told me calmly but authoritatively. Not wishing, not even strong enough to argue with him or wrangle, I replied. I don't need your territory. I'll come around soon and leave. But he continued the conversation.
Where will you go?
Where I go is none of your business. I'll go, and that's that.
But will you make it?
Yes, if no one stops me, stand back.
You're not going to stand or walk anywhere for long in the shape you're in.
What business is it of yours?
You're homeless.
What do you mean?
Oh, a newbie. All right, you can rest here for now.
He picked up his boxes and walked away. He came back with a bundle and began talking to me again.
Come on, follow me.
Where are we going?
You'll be my guest for a few hours or till morning. Dry out. Then you'll be on your way.
Following him, I asked, is your apartment far? He replied without turning around.
You'll be dead before you get to my apartment. I don't have an apartment here. I have my deployment.
We walked up to a door that led to the cellar of an apartment building. He told me to stand to one side, looked around, and when none of the residents were nearby, opened the lock with something resembling a key. It was warmer in the cellar than outside. Hot water pipes, specially stripped of their insulation, probably by homeless men, heated it. A heap of rags lay in one corner. On this pile fell the dim light that penetrated the dusty glass of the cellar window. We proceeded to the far, empty corner. He got a bottle out of his bundle, opened the top, took some water in his mouth, and sprayed it all around like an atomizer. He explained.
That's to keep the dust down.
Then he moved aside a board, standing in the corner. From the gap that formed between the building wall and the partition, he pulled out 2 sheets of plywood covered with a big piece of cellophane, and then a few more pieces of cardboard, also covered in cellophane. He used them to set up 2 improvised cots on the floor. He took a tin can out of the corner and lit the candle set inside it. The can's half-open lid was clean and slightly bent in a semicircle and served as a reflector. The simple device shone light on the edge of the plywood and the small space between us. He spread a newspaper and began to take from his bundle a piece of cheese, bread, and 2 boxes of kefir. Neatly slicing the cheese, he said,
You're still standing? Have a seat. Take off your jacket, hang it on the pipe, and when it dries, you can clean it. I have a brush. Let the pants dry on you. Try not to get them too wrinkled.
He also took out 2 sealed 100-gram cups of vodka, and we sat down to eat. There was cellar dirt all around, but the corner he had fitted out was quite clean and cozy. When we clinked glasses, he introduced himself.
Call me Ivan. We dispense with patronymics here.
His maneuvering with the improvised cots and the food neatly laid out on the newspaper, despite the cellar's dirty floor, created an atmosphere of cleanliness and coziness in his cellar corner. Do you have anything softer to sleep on? I asked after our supper.
You can't keep rags here. They get dirty and start to stink. Over in that corner, my neighbors. 2 of them. They come sometimes. They've created a pigsty with their rags.
In talking with him and answering his questions, without even noticing it, I had told him about meeting Anastasia and her way of life and abilities, about her ray, her dreams, and her aspirations. He was the first person I told about Anastasia. Even I didn't understand why I told this man about Anastasia's eccentricities, her dream, and how I'd given her my word to help her. I had tried to organize a society of entrepreneurs with pure intentions, but had made a mistake. I should have written the book first. Now I'll write it and try to publish it. Anastasia said she needed the book first.
Are you really sure you can write it and then publish it on top of that without any money?
Whether I'm sure or not, I don't know. But I'm going to act along these lines.
So there is a goal and you're moving toward it.
Yes, I am moving toward it.
And you're sure you'll reach it?
I'm going to try.
Yes. A book. You need a good artist to design the cover and design it from his soul, consistent with its intention and goal. Where are you going to find an artist without money?
I'll have to get along without an artist or a design.
You need to do this right with a design and according to your intention properly. If only I had paper, brushes, and good paint. I could help you. Only all that's expensive nowadays.
You mean you're an artist, a professional?
I'm an officer. I've liked to draw since I was a child. I belonged to all kinds of clubs. Later, when I carved out the time, I painted pictures and gave them to friends.
Then why did you become an officer if you wanted to draw all the time?
My great-grandfather was an officer, my grandfather too, and my father. I loved and respected my father. I knew, felt how he wanted to see me, and that's what I tried to become. I made it to colonel.
Which service were you in?
Mainly the KGB. That's what I left.
Because of cutbacks, or were you fired?
I resigned. I couldn't take it.
What couldn't you take?
You know, there's this song. The words go, officers, officers, your heart is in their sights.
Someone tried to kill you? An attempt on your life? They fired at you as payback for something?
Officers get shot frequently, but officers have always headed toward the bullets in defense of those behind, never suspecting that their hearts were in their sights and the fatal shot would be fired from the rear, with accuracy, an exploding bullet, straight for the heart.
How's that? What happened?
Remember the pre-perestroika days? The holidays, May 1st, November 7th, and the tremendous columns of people shouting hurrah, glory, and long live. I and the other officers, not just from the KGB, we were proud that we were the shield for these people. We protected them. This was the meaning of life for the majority of officers. Then came perestroika and glasnost, and we began to hear other shouts. It turned out we were pigs, we KGB officers, executioners. We were defending the wrong people and the wrong system. Those who had marched in columns under red flags formed up into other columns and started marching under other flags, and they decided we were to blame. I have a wife, 9 years younger. A beauty. I loved her. I still do. She was proud of me. We had a son, just one. What's called a late-in-life child. He's 17 now. He was proud of me too, at first, respected me. Later, when all this started, my wife became cold. She wouldn't look me in the eye. My wife became ashamed of me. I turned in my badge and took a job as a guard for a commercial bank. I hid my uniform as far back as I could, but my wife and son's unspoken questions hung in the air all the time. You can't answer unspoken questions. They saw the answers in the newspapers and on the television screen. Apparently, we officers didn't care about anything but our own dachas and repression. But they did show the elegant dachas of military leaders on television, not touched up. Yes, they did. Untouched up dachas. Only those dachas would look like pathetic hen houses compared to what many of their accusers have now. You had a ship over there, and a lot more than a general's dachas. But that general first went to military school and dug trenches. Then he moved from barracks to barracks as a lieutenant. He wanted to have a dacha, a house for his children, the same as everyone. Who knows how many times during the night he had to jump out of his warm bed in the same dacha to end up in field conditions. Russia used to value its officers. It gave them estates. Now they've decided a dacha with 1,500 square meters of land is too much for a general.
Everyone used to live differently.
Differently. Everyone. But on top of everything else, they always accused officers first of all. Officers went out on Senate Square. They were thinking about the people. Those officers later went to the gallows, the mines, Siberia. No one rose up in their defense. They fought the Germans in the trenches for Tsar and fatherland. Safe behind the lines, the revolutionary patriots were already preparing their welcome home by loading their guns with bullets for their hearts worse than lead ones. White guards, brutes, that's what they called the officers who returned from war after trying to bring about order. Chaos all around, everything collapsing. All the old values, material and spiritual, torched and trampled. It was hard for them, those officers, and so they went, putting their officers' uniform on over clean linen. They went on the psychological attack. Do you know what a psychological attack is?
It's when they try to frighten the enemy. I saw it in a movie. In Chapayev, the White Guard officers were marching in formation, and they're being strafed by machine guns. They fall, but they close ranks again and go on the attack.
Yes, they fall and go. But the problem is they weren't doing the attacking.
So why did they go then?
In military practice, the goal of any attack is the capture or physical annihilation of the enemy, preferably with minimal losses of your own side. You could head into machine guns and take cover in trenches only when you had consciously or unconsciously set a different goal.
What is the different goal?
Maybe, counter to the logic of the military art, at the price of your own life, to show, to call on those shooting to think, while they were killing the marchers, to understand them rather than to fire on them.
But then their death resembles the death of Jesus on the cross, doesn't it?
It does. We'll have cause to remember Christ again. The beardless cornets and the generals marching in formation were forgotten. Perhaps even now their souls, wearing clean linen and an officer's uniform, are facing the bullets we've let loose and calling on us to think it over.
Why call on us? When they were shot at, we didn't even exist.
You didn't then. But the bullets are flying today too, new bullets. Who is firing them, if not us?
It's true, the bullets are flying today too, and why for so many years? Why did you leave home?
I couldn't take the looks.
What? Looks from whom?
We were watching TV one night. My wife was in the kitchen. My son and I were watching together. Then one of those political broadcasts began, and they began talking about the KGB. Obviously, they laid it on thick. I picked up the newspaper, pretending I had no interest in the broadcast. I wanted my son to switch to another program. He wasn't interested in politics at all. He loves music, but he didn't. I rustled the newspaper and stole a look at him. I saw my son sitting in the chair. He dug his nails into the arm so hard that his hands were white. I myself didn't move a muscle. I realized he wasn't about to change channels. I held out as long as I could, hidden behind the paper. Finally, I couldn't take it. I crumpled the newspaper, cast it to one side, stood up abruptly, and shouted, "Will you finally turn it off? Will you?" My son stood up too, but he didn't make a move toward the television. He was facing me, silently looking me in the eye. But the broadcast continued, and my son was looking at me. That night I wrote him a note. I'm leaving for a while. I think this is how it has to be, and I left for good.
Why for good?
Because
we sat silently for a long time. I tried to get more comfortable on the plywood and drift off, But the man started talking again.
You mean, Anastasia says, I'll carry people across the dark forces span of time? I will, and that's that.
Yes, she does, and she believes she will.
She needs an elite regiment. I'd be a soldier in that regiment.
What regiment? You misunderstood. She rejects violence. She wants to convince people somehow. She's trying to do something with her ray.
I have a feeling, she'll do it. Lots of people will want to be warmed by her ray. Only a few will understand that they need to exercise their own brain a little too. We need to help Anastasia. She's alone. She doesn't even have a platoon. Look, she summoned you and asked you, and you're lying around a cellar like a bum. Some entrepreneur.
You're lying around here too, Mr. KGB.
All right, sleep, soldier.
It's kind of cold in your barracks.
So, that can happen too. Curl up and conserve your warmth.
Then he stood up, pulled a cellophane packet out of the crack, and covered me with what had been in the package. The 3-star tunic's epaulette gleamed next to my face in the candle's dim light. I warmed up under the tunic and fell asleep. Through my sleep, I heard the homeless men go to their corner with the rags and demand a bottle from the colonel for my lodging, and he promised to pay them back the next day, but they insisted he pay up immediately and threatened him. The colonel moved his plywood cot, placing it between me and the homeless men, and said,
Touch him over my dead body.
With that, he laid down on his plywood, shielding me from the homeless men. Then everything quieted down. I felt warm and peaceful. I woke up to the colonel shaking me by the shoulder.
Up and Adam, rise and shine. We've got to get out of here.
Dawn had barely broken outside the dingy cellar window. I sat up on the plywood. My head hurt badly, and I was having a hard time breathing. It's early still, it's not even dawn.
A little longer, and it'll be too late. They set fire to cotton wool with powder. It's an old trick. A little longer, and we'd have passed out from suffocation.
He walked over to the window with some kind of rod and started prying out the frame. The bums had locked the door from the outside. He pulled out the frame, smashing the window, and climbed onto the windowsill. The cellar window led out onto a concrete recess and was covered by a grate. He started working on the grate, trying to wrest it from its mounting, but was having no luck. I stood there, leaning against the wall. My head was spinning. The colonel poked his head through the window and ordered,
Squat. There's less smoke down low. Try not to move. Breathe in as little air as you can.
He pushed out the grate with his shoulders. He moved it aside and helped me out. We sat on the concrete pavement next to the cellar window, silently breathing the pre-dawn air of awakening Moscow. Gradually, the dizziness passed. It was cold, and each of us was silently thinking our own thoughts. Your neighbors aren't very friendly. You mean they're the bosses here?
Here, everyone's his own boss. They have this racket. They bring in a new guy and take a payment from him for the billet. If he refuses to pay, they slip something in his glass or smoke him out while he's asleep. They tried to do that to us, and then they take what they want for themselves, if there's anything to take.
So you, Mr. KGB, you look on all this indifferently. You could have smacked them good over things like this. Or did you just sit in offices shuffling papers the whole time as an official and know nothing about intake?
I had to sit in offices and not sit in offices. Both. Knowing about intake is one thing. Doing it is very different. An opponent or enemy is one thing. A person is another. And I can choose to ignore it if it gets to be too much.
You call these guys people? While you're ignoring them, they rob people. They're prepared to kill.
They are prepared to kill. But you can't stop that by physical means.
You philosophize while we nearly died. We barely scrambled out, but others might not.
Yes, others might not.
There, you see? So why are you philosophizing instead of acting?
I can't beat people. I'm telling you, I can ignore it. Why don't you get going to your deployment? It's dawn already.
I stood up, shook his hand, and left. After a few steps, Ivan called out to me.
Wait up. Come back for a second.
I walked over to the homeless colonel sitting on the concrete paving. He was sitting there, his head hanging silent. Why did you call me? I asked. After a pause, he began,
You think you can get there?
Yes, I can. It's not far, just 3 stops. I'll get there.
I mean, can you achieve your goal? Are you certain? Write a book and publish it.
I'm going to act. First, I'll try to write it.
Anastasia said you were supposed to be able to.
Yes, she said that.
Then why didn't you do that right away?
I thought the other was more important.
So you can't carry out her orders exactly?
Anastasia didn't give orders, she asked.
She asked, so she worked out the tactics and strategy herself. But you went and decided to do it your own way and just mucked up everything.
That's what happened.
That's what happened. You need to pay better attention to your orders. Here, take this.
He held out something wrapped in a small cellophane packet. I unwrapped it and saw through the cellophane a gold wedding ring and a silver cross on a chain.
Dealers will pay you half its value. Give it to them for that. It might keep you going. If you need somewhere to stay, come here. I'll deal with them.
What are you doing? I'm not going to take this.
Don't think about it. It's time. Go. Come on, forward.
I'm telling you I won't take it. I tried to give him back the ring and cross, but I ran into the man's commanding and at the same time beseeching look.
About face. Forward. March.
He spoke in a constricted whisper that brooked no argument, and after a pause as I was leaving, he whispered,
Just get there.
When I reached my apartment, I wanted to go to sleep, or even just lie down, but I couldn't get the homeless colonel out of my mind. I put on clean clothes and started out to see him. On my way, I thought, maybe he'll agree to stay with me. He's equipped for anything. He's practical and neat. Not only that, he's an artist. Maybe he'll draw a picture for the book's cover. It would be easier to make the rent money together. I don't have anything to pay next month. At the approach to the cellar window we crawled out of at dawn, I saw a cluster of people, building residents, a police car, and an ambulance. The homeless colonel lay on the ground with eyes shut and a smile on his face. He was smeared with wet earth. His dead hand grasped a piece of red brick. A wooden box lay smashed next to the wall. A forensics man was writing in his notebook. He stood next to the corpse of another man with a twisted face and crumpled, threadbare clothing. In the small crowd, probably building residents, a woman kept chattering excitedly.
I was taking my little dog for a walk, and he, the one smiling, was standing on the box facing the wall, and 3 of them, bums they looked like, 2 men and a woman with them, walked up to him from behind. One of the bums jerked the box out, and the man crashed from the box to the ground. They started kicking him and cursing at him. I shouted at them. They stopped beating him. The smiling one stood up. He had a hard time standing up. He told them to leave and that he didn't want to lay eyes on them ever again. They started cursing him again and made for him. When they got close, he just karate chopped the one who had jerked out the box in the throat without even taking a swing. I didn't see him take a swing, but he hit him so hard that the other man doubled up and started choking. I started shouting again. The other 2 fled immediately. First the woman and then the man ran after her. The smiling one was clutching his heart. He should have sat or laid down then and there if he was having a heart attack, but he went back to his box. He walked slowly and moved it to the wall. Holding on to the wall, he climbed onto the box. He stood up on it. He was in such a bad way you could see it. He started sinking. He was thinking and still drawing on the wall with his red brick, and he kept drawing on the ground and lay face up next to the wall. I ran up to see. He wasn't breathing, but he was smiling.
Why did he climb on the box? I asked the woman.
Yes, especially if he was having a heart attack.
Someone in the crowd echoed.
You see, he still wanted to draw. When those 3 bums crept up on him, he was drawing. That must be why he didn't notice them. My little dog and I were out walking for a long time, but he stood on his box the whole time drawing. He didn't turn away from his drawing once. There is the drawing higher up.
The woman pointed to the building's brick wall. Written in red brick on the building's grey wall was a circle for a sun, a cedar branch in the middle of it, and along the edges of the round sun around the circle, some uneven letters. I got a little closer to the wall and read, "The ringing cedars of Russia." There were also little rays coming from the sun. There were only 3 of them. The homeless colonel couldn't have had the time to draw more. 2 short rays and a 3rd ray extended, twisting and fading to the very base of the wall on the ground where the dead homeless colonel lay smiling. I looked at his smiling, dirt-smeared face and thought. Perhaps at the last moment of his life, Anastasia was able to touch him with her ray and warm the soul of this man a little at least, and carry it into the infinity of light. I watched them load the bodies of the dead into the van. They tossed my colonel in like a sack. His head struck the floor of the truck. I couldn't take it. I tore off my jacket, ran up to the van, and demanded that they leave my jacket under the man's head. One paramedic swore at me, but the second silently took the jacket and placed it under the colonel's graying head. The vans left. I felt empty, as if nothing had happened. I stood and looked at the drawing and writing, illuminated by the morning sun. My thoughts were confused. I had to do something for my KGB man, this officer of Russia who had died here. But what? Then I decided. I'll put your drawing on the cover of my book, officer. I will definitely write it. Even though I still don't know how to write, nevertheless I'll write it. And not just one. I'll put your drawing on all of them, as an emblem. I'll appeal to all Russians in the book. Russians, don't fire your invisible exploding bullets, your bullets of cruelty and callousness, into the hearts of our officers. Don't shoot your white, red, blue, or green soldiers, your warrant officers and generals in the back. The bullets you fire from the rear are worse than lead ones. Don't fire at your officers, Russians.
End of chapter. Join us for the next segment of Ringing Cedars of Russia, Book 2 of the Ringing Cedars series, Guessing the Secret.